live tonight from Auto Club Speedway. It's race number 5 of the 2019 Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series season, powered by Sim Racers for Mental Health. Tonight, it's the Auto Club 80 as the top drivers in the Real Sim Racing Cup Series look to conquer this 2-mile circuit and conquer the brand new draft package for the first time in the history of the series. Good evening, I'm Justin Prince. Alongside in the booth tonight is Brett Wheeler. He'll be also in the director's seat for tonight's action for your flag-to-flag coverage for the next 80 laps of action. A lot of question marks for a lot of the drivers coming in, including, can the dominance of Andrew Freenach continue after winning 54% of the past 3 races laps and winning the past 3 races? And who will be able to conquer the brand new draft package, allowing for closer racing at tracks such as Auto Club? Brett, lots of question marks here tonight. It's going to be an absolutely wild race as described by many drivers, not just for here tonight, but throughout the entire service.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how these drivers adapt, to the new package that they've been given over the past, couple of weeks. They've had a couple of weeks on it and whatnot. And from what I've seen, last week here at Fontana as well, it should be an interesting race. See how these drivers, really, consider their tyre wear. And we've seen a lot of green flag laps last week, but once again, it's a new week, and we'll just see how these drivers adapt to the new week.
We'll have to see if they can adapt to everything today. A lot to discuss. But first things first, let's quickly discuss what's happening in the standings after the 4th round of the season at ISM Raceway. A wild race, by the way. Andrew Freenach came away with his 3rd straight victory and his 3rd straight top 5/top 10 on the season after crashing at Daytona. He leads the points by 6 points, in fact, over Brian Macklin. Macklin being one of only 4 drivers to complete every single corner on the racetrack so far this season. Jason Jacoby, Jonathan Cadell, Brian Chambliss, Kyle Kammer, Rhett McBride, Joker Johnson, Eric Stanford, Connor Horn, Corey round out your top 10. There's been a lot of comers and goers so far, still early on in the season, but we're starting to get towards that stretch where you need to start getting some good races together. You need to be in the top 16 in points to make the playoffs in the series. Right now, Sean Callis is sitting on that cut line, just 1 point ahead of Jeremy E. Miller in the standings, Brett.
It's a long season, though. You know what I mean? Like, you've really got to show consistency throughout the race. You can't just have, these 1 or 2 good races throughout, leading up to the playoff series. It starts from race number 1, and it's got to follow all the way up to the playoff series. If you don't have that consistency in the run, well, you're pretty much, I wouldn't say you're wasting your time, but, you're pretty much just, giving up and, really not, living up to your full potential.
Indeed, right now, it's going to be interesting who tries to continue to gain and show their potential, rather, in tonight's action. Qualifying just finishing up on the racetrack, as you've seen lots of drivers waiting to see if the temperature would drop towards the end of the session. In the end, the man you've seen going from start to finish the past couple of times around is the man who is going to be starting on the pole tonight. Andrew Freenach starts on the front row, with Bryce Whitson Jr. starting on the outside, recording a 40.535 for the outside pole sitter. Skylar Shackelford sits in the 3rd spot with Jason Jacoby sitting in P number 4. Scott McClendon has one of his best starts on the season in the top 5, with Daniel E. Eberhardt starting on the outside of row number 3. Josh Gerlach starts 7th with Brian Macklin, one of 4 drivers to complete every corner, and before ISM Raceway's race was one of the few drivers to not have incidents. He starts 8th. Kyle Kammer will start alongside William Kruzka to round out your top 10. Brett?
Yeah, starting position 11th is going to be Jeremy Miller. Thomas George will start position number 12. Row number 7 on the inside, Rhett McBride out of position 13. Connor Horn out of position 14. 15th is going to be Kurt Rittenberg. 16th is going to be Jonathan Cadell. We go back to row number 9, Brad Borer in the 17th spot. 18th is going to be Eric Stanford. Then go back to row number 10, Chase Austin will start alongside Andrew Jones in 20th spot.
Chad Schilling starts 21st, highest position driver who has not run every race so far with 3 entries rather, with Brian Lambert starting 22nd. John Fowler will start 23rd with Nicholas Caldwell starting alongside him, with Anthony Fredericks in the Rockstar machine starting 25th. Brian Spriggs starts 26th with Jeremy Rittenberg starting alongside Joker Johnson. Already getting to where they're 3/10 off the pole in this group with Brendan Johnson starting 29th. Jared Astrop starts in 30th. And quickly go through the rest of your grid. 38 drivers entered, 34 in the end recorded qualifying time. Scott Brotherton, Tom Mirando, Jeremy Bazemore, and Dylan Phillips all rounded out the drivers who recorded times. Drivers that didn't record times: Greg Omo, RJ Williams, Brian Chambliss, and Matthew Miller. Those are your 38 drivers in tonight's action. 80 laps around the Auto Club Speedway this evening. Weather tonight, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, partly cloudy skies. Track temperature 96 degrees to start off the race as they head onto the circuit, and already dropping to 95. Winds going to the southwest, about 6 miles per hour. Jeremy Bazemore did not go on the racetrack as they left the pit lane, but tonight could be interesting. From what was discussed by some drivers, some of them described it as pure insanity tonight. Drivers in that group include Brian Macklin and Bryce Whitson. Others like Chase F. Austin said it's going to be more about drivers making mistakes and not anticipating those said mistakes from others, leading to incidents going through the corners. What do you expect to see for this type of race tonight?
I think we're going to see a lot of too wide racing in the first probably 5 to 10 laps until drivers, really sort of, get into a rhythm. They find their groove, and then they can somewhat make their move. I think the man on pole, Andrew Farina's in the 88. He's going to be very tough to beat after the consistency that he's shown, towards the end of last year, but also, to start off this year as well.
Indeed, they end up leaving the 14-degree turns, heading to the 11-degree front stretch. Back stretch, 3 degrees today. As Andrew Farina heads into the restart zone, has full control in the field. Bryce Whitson Jr. on the outside. Green flags out. We're underway from Auto Club Speedway for the Auto Club 80. A clean start for the top 10, and already drivers looking to shuffle 3 wide. There goes George heading towards the outside line.
Wasting little time in getting to the, to make it 2 and 3 wide on the start. But Farina's leads down the back straightaway for the final time. Look at the drivers just fighting all over the racetrack, trying to get into a rhythm. Still 3 wide for second. As your 12 car shuffled up on the inside of the 51 of Scott McClendon. They continue to go side by side. They move Bryce Whitson Jr. back to position 4. Then you got Jason Jacoby in the 3 car. He's 3 wide as well. So good early battles going on. Lap number 1, it's going to belong to Andrew Farina's.
Andrew Farina ends up leading the first lap. Still 79 more to go in the action. And this is to be expected with this new draft package. A lot of drivers already just saying it's so difficult to keep the lead if you start on the front row. And we're already seeing a lot of that filing out. A couple drivers already going to the back of the field with the chaos going on already 3 wide. And that's to be expected with this package. A lot of drivers not going to be held up as Cruzhill goes up the racetrack. Bobo going on and through turn number 4. Holding on that time, Jeremy E. Miller, but he nearly took a few different drivers with him in the Harborn Racing number 23.
Well, no shortage of action in the opening couple laps. I did say, expect to go 2 and 3 wide. That's exactly what we've seen. Keep an eye on the 90 car of Daniel Eberhardt. Just a lap ago, he went to the bottom down the back straightaway, then just drove right up to the top of the racetrack to get the run going into turn number 3. So that 90 machine, he's making some moves early on. Meanwhile, you've still got Bryce Whitson Jr. and Jason Jacoby still battling it out side by side for 3rd and 4th. But Andrew Farina is still leading in this race. Scott McClendon back there in 2nd.
And a lot of drivers have said throughout the week, you do not want to be that car stuck on the bottom. Not just the risk of side draft, but how after about 4 or 5 laps with this package, you're not able to carry as much momentum off the corner exit. And the driver on the outside has the stronger run. Jacoby tries to show that here. They still stay side by side and still hold each other up for the time being. Shackelford, meanwhile, able to just about, in fact, clear Daniel E. Eberhardt for the position right on behind to get into the top 5.
Yeah, Brian Macklin following in Daniel Eberhardt's footsteps at the moment, just tucked in behind the 90 machine. He's got Connor Horn in the 24 car behind him as well. We still continue to watch this battle for 3rd and 4th between Jason Jacoby in that 3 car and the 00 car, Bryce Whitson Jr. They're still going to go 2 wide as now Skylar Shackelford almost attempted to make that go 3 wide, but while they're side by side right now, it might just be taking away the fact that slowly but surely Scott McClendon and Andrew Farinas, they're starting just to get away from him just a little bit, but they're still somewhat inside of a dry pack as Jacoby is going to clear of the 00 Bryce Whitson Jr. Now Skylar Shackelford to the outside, Jacoby down low into turn number 3.
And Jacoby tries to keep the momentum on the corner exit, able to get a little bit away in P number 3, switching from a Ford to a Toyota today, as he tries to utilize that back draft, that dirty air. While it's hard to drive through with those aero ducts, the drivers from behind are able to reel in the back bumper by at least 1 or 2 tenths a lap if they can time it up. Bad exit though behind for Whitson Jr. Nearly came on top of Shackelford as Eberhardt tries to side draft him up the racetrack as he dives it into the 4th spot and tries to hold on for the time being. But Jacoby, as you see up towards the front, he's there. He's utilizing those aero ducts to the best of an advantage, already to the back bumper of McClendon, trying to push him forward.
Yeah, Jacoby in the 3 cars really, he's now made this a 3-car battle up towards your top 3. He's cleared away from Bryce Whitson Jr., Daniel Eberhardt, Skylar Shackelford, Brian Macklin, William Kruzka, and Eric Stanford there as well. So, there's a group of 3 cars, and you've got about a group of about 6 cars back there from 4th on through to about 10th at the moment. But Jacoby in the 3 car, and I think you might have an interesting stat on Mr. Jason Jacoby on a spotter tonight.
Yes, indeed. His spotter for tonight is actually his girlfriend, supposed to be at least. Mackenzie Gordon will be spotting for Jacoby, as Jacoby darts his way to the outside. Can't get the run though quite yet. McClendon trying to get to that right rear quarter panel, and we'll see if he can do it. McClendon though tries to send it in deep. Slides up the racetrack, clips the apron, nearly gets into Freenotch's left side, but able to just hold on. But the tire wear might be starting to come in, as you see. The more these tires wear out, as drivers have said, around lap 20, that's where a lot of the drivers may start to fall off. And especially with the hot track temp, these drivers might swing loose rather than tight, as seen by many of these competitors throughout the week on the service.
Yeah, Jacoby now quickly moved into 2nd spot now. He was on the back of the 88 car of Andrew Farina as he moves in fact to the outside as they come into the next turn. Turn number 3 it is. Andrew Farinas in the red and black, number 88, Jacoby in the 3. And what that's done now is, of course, McClendon in the 51. He's fallen back to position 3, but it's allowed Eberhardt, Shackelford, Whitson Jr., Macklin, Horn as well. They're starting to catch up to the top 3 right now, but the battle is on squarely for the race lead. Jason Jacoby to the inside on Andrew Farina. It's a good side-by-side battle for the race lead, and I guess this is what we can expect for pretty much the entirety of this race. These 2 drivers are really in some hot form as of late.
Indeed, both of them have had some strong performances this season. Jacoby, though, trying to side draft Freenards. McClendon backs off. Gave him a bit of a love tap, in fact. That's going to help Jacoby to try and take the race lead. Can't clear him. This is still going to be tight. Freenards, though, gets out of the gas. Lets him slide up the racetrack. New leader, Jason Jacoby. The thing is, though, this could shuffle along because as they've been battling along, Eberhardt's back in it. Freenards back to the bottom side, meanwhile, tries to go for the slide job.
So far, Farinas has led 9 laps, all 9 laps so far. Can Jacoby, can he be the first person to take away one of that lead lap? Yes, he can. As Farinas goes to the top side, he's got McClendon in behind him. Then you go back to Daniel Eberhardt. Once again, he goes from the bottom to the top, gets in line as they come into turn number 3. And right now, we've still got Daniel Eberhardt and Skylar Shackelford nearly side by side. And you go back to Brian Macklin in that number 30 machine. And just look at these row of cars right now. There's about 10 of them that are fairly close with each other, just about a 1.1 second.
And if you've seen that, Bryce Whitson Jr. nearly ping-ponged up and down off the wall, got really loose off the bumps. And for those that don't know, this is basically compared to a dirt track, as someone has spun out. The caution flag has come out, and it looks like it might be towards the back on lap number 11. Yes, indeed, there was a couple cars towards the back of the field, and one of them was Brian Chambliss as he spun off of turn 2, brings out the yellow, doesn't involve any of their drivers, but does end up looping it on the edge of the apron to bring out your first yellow of the day.
And just looking at the LSR TV replay right now, in fact, when he went into turn number 1, he got a little hit from behind from the 54 car of Brian Spriggs. And then he somewhat saved it, and as he gathered it back up, as they come out of turn 2, he got a little bit looser. And then, of course, just overcorrecting that number 45 machine. And unfortunately, Brian Chambliss is going to be around. That will bring on our first caution of the evening. I tell you what, we've had some good racing so far. It took, what, 11 laps for the caution flag to come out here at the Fontana Raceway. Some good 2 and 3 wide. It's, you know, it's been chaotic up the front, and those top 10 drivers. You think about, you know, Jacoby, Farinas, McClendon. You know, they'd pulled away, you know, by about half a second over the rest of the field, and then, you know, once they got into those side-by-side battles, it brought the field, it brought those top 10, you know, really close together, back to about 1.1 second.
And that's something that can happen with this package and was seen in the real-life race at times yesterday at Auto Club Speedway. You have two drivers side by side. A third car, a lot of times, would just zoom on by them, go down on the apron, make it 3 wide, get the pass done. Meanwhile, though, everyone else trying to gain track position in the pits. McClendon, though, did get hit in the rear end by, I believe it was Eberhardt, on the pit entry. Yes, indeed, he did get a slight love tap. Eberhardt overran the pit box as a result, and he's going to mix up the strategy after the mistake. He's going to take 2 tires to take the race lead, the only driver in the field to make the risk.
Well, now look, excuse my ignorance for this one, but on a track like this, how much does 2 tires affect it, you know, more than 4 tires? Because, look, I'll be honest, you know, this isn't my forte. You know, I'm more of a dirt guy, but, you know, what kind of strategy or what kind of impact will that have on the rest of the field?
Now that's the big question mark with this package. I'm glad you brought that up. These tires still, of course, wear, but the thing is, it's going to be much more loose. For drivers that are wondering, the NIS, or the NASCAR iRacing Series, ran on a colder track, different weather conditions. There, you could get away with taking 2 because there was more grip. This is the loosest some of these drivers have had all week. The main thing is, if he shot those left side tires, that could be an issue. Around 97-98% could mean he will fall off towards the first 5 laps of this run. That's going to be, I think, a question mark, I think, for both of us here, Brett, if he's going to be able to handle this car. It can help loosen it up, but this is a very slick racetrack, as we've already seen with a couple drivers.
All right, well, is it a case of, you know, as he hopes to stay out in front, you know, the guys, you know, somewhat hope to stay in line, knowing that, you know, we're still very early on in this race? And is it a case of maybe, you know, Eberhardt might be thinking, oh, look, if I've taken 2 tires, the rest, you know, everyone else is on 4, I'm going to make it as difficult as I can for those guys to not only get around me, wear up their tires in trying to get around him, therefore making somewhat of an even level playing field again?
I think that's exactly what may be thought about too here for this move, on top of course, running the pit box. If he didn't, he'd end up losing track position. And I should say, if he took 4, and track position, for those that don't know, very crucial in this package. If you're, say, around 20th, it's very difficult to try and move up to the top 10 without either some luck, having good tire management and corner management, and essentially as well, basically, again, some cautions to help you gain some track position on the restarts. So Eberhardt elects to roll the dice, doesn't want to lose the track position. He's your leader. Frenars is in second, Jacoby third, Shackelford, McClendon your top 5, Brian Macklin in 5th. Hold on 1 second, it looks like Eberhardt has said, you know what, this is not a good idea. He's going to take 4. Wow. He is ducked down into the pits. I'm not surprised, honestly, here, Brett, because, again, if you end up getting loose on a 10-lap difference, a major difference on a hot racetrack, mind you, there's going to be a lot of drivers angry at you for making that move.
Again, you know, so early on in the season, I guess it's not time to take those risks as well. We see the lights go out on the Ford Mustang pace vehicle. Andrew Farina's so far has led 10 of the 14 laps complete. Of course, Jason Jacoby, the other driver, to lead a couple of laps under green flag. But we'll see Daniel Eberhardt, we'll see he's going to restart in position 36. It is a long way back towards the front. He's going to have to hope, you know, for a few more cautions, you know, to really make his way forward through this field.
Indeed, right now, he elects to go all the way to the back. And we'll see how this restart goes again. Freenars, Jacoby, McClendon, Shackelford, Whitson Jr. now is your top 5. Macklin still in 6. Josh Gerlach and Eric Stanford in the top 8. Kyle Kammer, Connor Horde round out the top 10. Few drivers got some luck. They started from the pits. That included RJ Williams, Jared Astrop in the end, along with Bazemore. Tom Moreno, your only DNF so far, as they head towards the restart zone for the second time today. As the pace car drops off, they try and catch on up. Freenars off and away. Green flags out. We're back and away on lap number 16. A huge launch as Jacoby doesn't go as quick as possible. This might actually hurt Freenars, though, because of that arrow push, an arrow toe that we might see coming down the backstretch.
And Shackelford was a little slow on that start. Of course, Farina certainly got the jump on him. But right now, keep an eye on the 30 car, Brian Macklin, in the blue and white 30, just pushing the 12 car of Skylar Shackelford on the inside line. They've now caught up to the back of the 88 of Andrew Farina. So that 3-4 car length lead that he had in a matter of, 2 turns and down the back straightaway, it is all pretty much evaporated, as he's got a good run through the turns 3 and 4 right now. So Farina is once again going to continue to lead this field. Here comes McClendon and Jacoby using the outside line. Jacoby outside, inside, side by side. Jacoby now to the race lead.
The question is, can he hold on? Tries to slide the bus. Parks the bus on towards the outside line. And ends up taking the race lead. Jason Jacoby, for now, back up in front. How does Freenars, though, defend? He decides to just tuck on in and stay patient, as they're still side by side for third on back. Shackelford, McClendon still side by side. Shackelford able to clear McClendon. New race leader, Jason Jacoby, as they head towards the front stretch. But a lot of great battles throughout this entire field so far, as Freenars tries to shuffle his way towards the bottom side. Again goes for the race lead, dives on in deep. He takes the race lead right on back from Jacoby.
Yeah, Shackelford also looking at the inside on Jason Jacoby. Couldn't quite make the pass. But now here comes Jacoby. Back down to the low side. Down the back straightaway. Farina's up top. They go to the wall. Once again, Jacoby going to look down low into turn number 3. Jacoby and Farina side by side. Is it going to be a case of a slide job complete? Yes, it is. Farina tries to turn it back underneath. He sticks in line. Tucks in behind the number 3 car. We spoke about before that first caution. The top 11 cars separated by 1.1 second. It's happening again. Those top 11 cars are just starting to pull away from the rest of the field. There's a good battle going on between Miller and George and Fowler as well. But now, I'll tell you what, this battle up front between Farina's and Jacoby, if this is what, if this is a taste of what's to come, for the next 60-odd laps, 62 laps, man, I'll tell you what, we're in for a treat.
You seen there, Freenar's got the pass done again. Jacoby, though, has the preferred line on the corner exit back to the outside. And not able to carry as much momentum. Had to maybe feather the gas a little bit to make sure it didn't push up to the wall. Here comes Skylar Shackelford now to try and make the push. Gives Freenars the push this time. And gives him the race lead on back. Shackelford now looks like he might be hungry. But Jacoby's still trying on the outside. This is some outstanding racing off this restart.
Yeah, we are almost 1/4 of the distance completed so far. As we're going to complete lap number 20 of 80. This time by, it's still Andrew Farina's momentarily leading into turn number 3. Jacoby down to the inside. Shackelford back there in third. Then you got McClendon, Winston Jr. and Connor Horn. Then Brian Macklin as well. So your top 7 just starting to move away from 8th on back right now. Jacoby, no, it's going to be Farina's who takes back the lead. 20 laps completed, 60 to go.
And Whitson really had to chuck up out of the gas that time. I think he hit the back bumper of McClendon. Yes, he did. So trouble for Whitson Jr. Freenars, though, back to the race leaders. Jacoby got tight. Shackelford tries to get the switch. Freenars comes in to block the momentum. Horn tries to block on behind as they're now 3 wide, battling at the back of the lead pack. Macklin backs out, but it looks like Freenars able to get some distance now as Shackelford pushes up. Everyone's starting to overdrive the corners, trying to fight for this race lead. And the more now that the whole top 7 shuffles back, the more that difference that you mentioned with time is going to close back up. Eric Stanford going to have potential with a chance to gain 2/10 a lap on the back of Macklin.
Yeah, just trying to look through the back of the field as well. Daniel Eberhard. He's picked up 10 spots since that last restart. He's up to position 26, but we keep our eyes peeled towards the front of the field. The top 4 run nose to tail down the back straightaway. And then you go back to 5th place. Bryce Whitson on the outside of Connor Horn in that 24 car. Horn looking to move into that top 5 right now and move Bryce Whitson Jr. back to P6. But those top 7 cars, they had about 3 or 4 tenths of a second over the rest of the 8th from 8th on back in that little group. That's now changed because Eric Stanford, Kyle Kamer, Jeremy Miller, Josh Gerlach as well, they're starting to catch up to this lead pack. And now you're seeing the top 13 cars sitting at about 1.5 seconds from the leader.
And they're going to have to start dealing with lap traffic. Brian Spriggs already in 37th, already just about a corner ahead of all of this chaos up in that lead group. Again, approaching lap 24 this time by at the stripe, as they're now up to single file for the top 5. Whitson Jr. being defended by Connor Horn. But this is something that was wanted to be seen with this package. Closer racing. And we're seeing a lot of that slicing and dicing, especially something we'll see in the first 15 laps. The question is, though, how do you feel these tires are going to be as this is all going on? Because the more these team drivers fight side by side, side draft, over push the exits, trying to carry the momentum, throw that conversation out of the window because a caution comes out down the backstretch. A huge one as a car just hit the safer barrier, I believe, or just nearly dodged it. Yes, indeed, I believe that was Dylan Phillips amongst the drivers that had to dodge the chaos. It was a part of the chaos, in fact. Chase F. Austin getting doored on the side by Dylan Phillips to bring out the caution on lap 24, coming to lap 25.
And we'll take a look at your LSR TV instant replay here. The 13 of Chase Austin. It was on the outside. Back the 31 car. And you're back to have a look at who that 31 car was.
Again, that 31
Dylan
car.
Phillips.
Yes.
So Phillips came up into Austin, and Phillips actually almost lost control. He somewhat saved it, almost the 4 car.
Oh, but look at Austin. Yeah, Austin just, that's what brought out the yell. Snapped up across the racetrack after all that. That was something Chase F. Austin had mentioned, that he expected this race is going to be crazy, not because of mistakes, but not because of the passing, rather, but the mistakes made by people not checking up and being not ready if another driver makes a mistake, and we just seen something there. He ends up having a car pushed tight underneath, and just ended up couldn't keeping the car straight, snapped hard to the right as everyone comes into the pit.
Yeah, we'll take a look on board of Scott Brotherton here in the 20 car. He was that unfortunate car that Austin came up into the outside wall. Brotherton had nowhere to go, and you can just look at the tachometer. It didn't lift at all, knowing that Austin was coming up onto the racetrack. Again, that's something you speak about, not lifting for other people. He just had nowhere to go, and Scott Brotherton in the 20's got heavy front end damage.
Yeah, that was a crazy sequence of events. I'm curious what would have caused Chase F. Austin, though, his car to just snap hard to the right. It nearly looked like it was saved. But in the end, ends up basically at 150 miles per hour, snapping hard to the right. That ends up causing the chaos, as it looks like it may have been an overcorrection. Either way, drivers into the pits and out of the pit lane now. And coming off the lane, Andrew Freenars coming out with the race leader, still Shackelford in second. Connor Horn, though, able to gain a lot of spots up to the third spot. Jacoby, Kammer, Whitson Jr., Miller come out behind them as well to sort things out. Now, one thing I do want to mention before we continue on with the action here, there are caution points for each driver that has, say, an incident in a race. Some drivers, of course, are required to essentially claim them. If they aren't claimed, the points, of course, multiply for the end of the race for said incidents. Jonathan Goodell entered the race with 4, Daniel Eberhardt with 2, Whitson Jr. with 2, Chad Schilling with 2, Macklin 1, Sean Callist with 1, Jeremy Miller with 1. Essentially, with each clean race, you lose 1 incident point. And it goes that way until you have none first caused caution, and the longest line. Second caused caution, you lose the lap. Third, if you claim it, it means the end of your race. If you don't claim it, 2 points on the first, 4 on the second, and a suspension on the third.
Yeah, it's something you want to kind of avoid, but it's a good system, in place, to really, try and clean up the racing. We're seeing what have we got? I think 5 or 6 drivers that have got caution points so far, and Daniel Eberhardt, he's got a couple of points. Bryce Whitson Jr. as well. I mean, Brian Macklin, Sean Callis, Jeremy Miller. There's a few guys towards, your top 10, even top 15 that, have got those caution points. But so far, I mean, we're 2 cautions in 26 completed laps, and we've seen 2, 3, sometimes almost at the start we almost had drivers going 4 wide around the Auto Club Speedway here. It's just a phenomenal sight, and with this new package so far, from what I've seen, it's certainly made the racing better. And I think we're only 26 laps in of 80. There's still potential to still have a lot more racing to come.
Indeed, already 2 yellows so far. You see Jeremy Bazemore currently credited as the leader. He is coming down the pit this time as the base car heads down the front stretch here. So far, 34 drivers still in the lead lap, 2 in the garage area, 1 do not start, or really I should say DNF, going to Tom Moreno. Brian Spriggs also a couple laps down on the track. Lights go to 1 to green as Freenars chooses the bottom side for the restart. Shackelford on the outside. Horn, Jacoby in row 2. Kammer, Whitson in row 3. Row 4, lining up is Miller alongside Stanford. McClendon will start alongside Josh Gerlach. Gerlach, he's had a quiet race so far. He's up to the top 10, lost 3 spots so far. But he's looked pretty sporty. He was showing some good strength, as you mentioned, in the draft, trying to gain some spots right before the caution came out.
Yeah, another guy that's, that we spoke about on the last caution, Daniel Eberhardt. Remember, he restarted 36. I did say he was up to 26. Now he's going to restart in row number 10. So he's sitting about 19th or 20th spot at the moment. Things aren't looking so well, but he's certainly got the pace, he's got the car, he's got the talent, and he's certainly got the right package underneath him, to get back to the front. Again, it's these cautions that are going to have to play into his favour, and as long as he can keep moving forward before these cautions, we're certainly going to see that number 90 car get back up towards your top 10 or even top 5.
Just been confirmed, Chase F. Austin is officially DNF'd for the race. A warning has also been issued to be nice on the racetrack in terms of the incidents. And to try and keep this race clean, everyone heads to the restart zone. Freenar's off and away. Green flag's out. Back away they go. Kammer does not go. Very slow on the inside line. At least 3-4 cars pass him on the outside as they duck down. Jacoby, though, ditched onto the high side.
Well, Jacoby going to waste no time in getting back to the outside on the 00 car of Bryce Whitson Jr. Jacoby's got a free run on the outside. A lot of cars working the bottom through turn number 1 and 2. Jacoby trying to still make that outside line work as Shackelford now going to look to the inside on Andrew Farinas. Here comes Connor Horn. We've seen it on the first initial restart that the inside line didn't go after Andrew Farinas, just took off. He was shot out of a cannon. And once again, as they got into turn 3, because of that draft pack, they easily caught up to him. And it's going to be Skylar Shackelford. He's going to lead his first lap of the race as Andrew Farinas looks back to the inside into turn 1. Caution, yes.
Caution. Yes, it's at the back of the field. Jared Astrop in the 11 machine making contact with the 44. Pardon me, ends up colliding as well with Miller. Caution flag is out on lap number 30. And Astrop's had a disastrous race today. Has been in the back and pitting on the second time around each time since the green. Ends up being involved in yellow number 3 today.
In fact, it actually wasn't even his fault. The 75, I think it was, or the 78 car of Matthew Miller. Matthew Miller was in the middle, Airstrop was on the bottom, and Miller just came down into the right rear quarter panel of Airstrop, and that sent the car hard right into, I believe it was the 44 car of Kurt Rittenberg, and Rittenberg had nowhere to go. Unfortunately, Airstrop, that's going to be his night done, along with Kurt Rittenberg as well. That's a tough night for those guys.
Very tough night indeed, as Astrop ended up hitting hard, and Rittenberg didn't not only get hit the one time, got hit the second time too after that ping pong ball effect. Just ended up all circumventing to what we just seen there again to bring out yellow number 3 of the day. Made it one lap around the track. At this point, of course, this is a track that does eat tires with its old surface. This original surface from when the track facility opened in 1997. Do you see drivers coming in only after one lap or trying to roll the dice, or should we just expect everyone to stay out here? What do you think?
I'd probably be the wrong person to be asking that question, but look, I would think after, not even getting a lap in, I'd expect drivers to just stay out. I mean, what's the point in, going back to the pits, to get fresh tyres after we've just had one lap? And there we go, there's a couple of fakes.
Yeah. Yep, Horn fakes, everyone else fakes. No, not a lot of people, in fact, no one considering, all the way back to Jonathan Goodell, who elected after getting up towards that 13th spot at the start of the day, drop back. He's going to be one of only a couple drivers to put themselves into the pit boxes here. So now as they continue to roll around, the track temp still skyrocketing. Local time in the sim is 1:18 p.m. at the moment on the racetrack as they roll their way around the circuit. Lap 32, already approaching halfway. Should mention, of course, with the pit window, these cars do have larger fuel tanks for the 2019 draft package that allows for at least an extra 2 to 4 laps, give or take, at each circuit in terms of fuel. As mentioned during NASCAR and Fox's coverage of the Auto Club 400, fuel can last potentially all the way up to around lap 44 to a run. Some even went to as far as lap 45 in real life. If they were to go green, they would have to pit within the final 10 laps to go or approaching 10 to go. How do you see them trying to strategize this race now if this race goes green?
Well, for what we've seen, I think there's a few drivers sort of towards the back end that are, been a little impatient or just sort of over driving, and I think that's. Look, I don't think the fuel thing's going to come into it. Just looking at what we've seen in the first 30 odd laps. I mean, we've only had 3 cautions. We just obviously had a quick back-to-back one. I think what might be the real question is, are we going away from that fuel strategy? Is this restart? We've seen Farinas on the inside line get a good jump, but as soon as he went into 3, he was pretty much being swallowed up by the rest of the field. Where does Shackelford go on this restart? Does he start inside or does he start outside? If you're in his situation, what would you do?
For me in this situation, I'd still like the inside, honestly, Brett. And I think you might say the same thing because you've seen the jump that they can get. However, I think it's an easier situation to block the lanes on the inside, as we've seen Freenards trying to because a lot of drivers, as talked about, have said it's so difficult to hold on to the race lead if you were the control car on a restart because of how this package works. Because with those aero ducts, in theory, it's supposed to drag the drivers that are lined up behind you, behind that dirty air, right up to you. As it could be as high as a 10-mile-per-hour difference and down the straightaways if you line yourself up properly and or give a bump draft, for example. That is going to be very crucial again on this restart. First time we'll see how Shackelford tries to handle that. One thing we also that we have seen at times is the tandem draft. That's something that is also starting to grow into relevancy with this package here, Brett.
Yeah, I guess only time will tell, when it comes to, the tandem draft as well. It's lights are going to go out on the pace truck, on the Ford Mustang, I should say. I'm used to saying the pace truck, but the Ford Mustang pace car going to go lights out, and Scarlett Shackelford going to opt to go with the inside line. We'll see how this inside line fares out this time, because the first two starts that we've had, that third on the inside has really been so slow. He's been sleeping on those starts. We'll see if things are going to change this time by.
We'll have to see for sure. Again, Shackelford in the Wrangler Chevrolet starts on the inside line. Then you have Freynars on the outside in his red Alta Ford, I should say, starting in that 88 machine. Of course, in terms of the standings so far and what we've seen in terms of the run so far from Shackelford, 15th in the point standings, one top 5 on the season for Harambone Racing, I should say. And one in the top 15 as well for amount of corners, as in amount of turn 1s, turn 2s, etc. He's made it around the circuit. He'll be the control car on this restart. Connor Horn up to his highest position so far of the day. Top 10 of the points. Now top 3 on the track. Also has the fastest lap time so far. A 40.314 has been the fastest one so far. Fall off after 5 laps we've seen so far has gone as high as a second. A lot to discuss and a lot of drivers hungry to try and fight for this race lead. Jacoby, Whitson Jr., Stanford amongst them in the top 6. Pace car comes off the racetrack. They head towards the restart zone as Shackelford already back off on the gas. Green flag's out. We're back underway. And again, the third driver in line on the bottom does not go.
Well, we've seen it 3 times now on these restarts, but we'll see how Shackelford fares as they go out of turn number 2 this time. Connor Horn up on the inside of Andrew Farinas as Horn. Connor Horn into second spot. Here comes Jason Jacoby on the inside line.
Oh boy. This is going to be dangerous. That was not going to work. Went all the way down to the apron there. We've seen that line in real life. It's not a good line, I should say, here in iRacing. Is that an illegal pass? It's a legal pass if you can. It's not a yellow line. However, don't forget this is still a bank corner, or if you're on that apron, you could still lose the car. On the corner entry.
Yeah. Oh,
trouble!
The 0-0.
And a good save, but a bigger spin. Jeremy E. Miller spins around. Caution flag is out. And that looked like everything just bottled up into a near 3 wide with Whitson Jr. and Miller. Gonna have to take a look at your LSR TV replay, but it looks like a calamity effect essentially, or a checkup effect on that high line. At least 4 or 5 different cars with at least some damage in the incident and or having to lock up the brakes in this one.
And we're on board here with Jeremy Miller. Just got into the left rear quarter panel there of the 0-0 car, and they got hit from behind. And as we take a onboard ride with Jeremy Miller, I'll look from a couple of different angles in regards to the accident. But yeah, Jeremy Miller, 23 car, at outside line, just checked up a little bit. He went to go through the middle and unfortunately caught the left rear quarter panel there of Bryce Whitson Jr. And unfortunately for Jeremy Miller, he's now going to go at the back of the bus, and that's not a good, well, mid-race strategy for him, because he was a top 10 car. And
not only that has significant damage, Whitson Jr. has also had front bumper damage It's a very aero-dependent racetrack too, especially with this package. That could hurt their chances of gaining spots for the rest of the day, at least for the both of them and everyone else involved. Again, the main drivers involved, Whitson Jr. and Miller. You also seen that was Gerlach with a big checkup, as well as that green and black machine having to go for the large checkup that time of Joker Johnson. All involved, but drivers ducking down into the pit lane. We have some non-takers, though. Jason Jacoby, Horn, Shackelford amongst the top amongst the top five, rather, who stick out. A lot of others trying to go for track position more than the tires right now with the race, the way this race has started to trend.
Yeah, Farinas was, he kind of made his intentions clear. He acted like he wasn't going to go in, and then all of a sudden just took a hard left-hand turn into pit road, and everybody else was sort of from fifth on backwards. They were already in line, getting ready to go into the pits. So interesting strategies coming out from Shackelford, Horn, Jacoby. And you go back to the likes of Thomas George, Rhett McBride out there as well. Daniel Eberhardt up to position 6 as well. William Kruska, Nicholas Caldwell, Dylan Phillips out there still. Brian Spriggs now scored in 10th spot. So top 10 cars are going to be on, what are we looking at? 5-6 laps older tyres than what the rest of the guys. In fact, it's going to be 12 lap old tyres right now, looking at your top 7 drivers. And then, of course, those you got Farinas, who's sitting back in 12th. He's going to have a brand new set on, along with a lot of the rest of the other drivers.
Yeah, and remember, that includes only about 2 laps under green flag conditions for the drivers up front who stayed out. So they'll all file back in behind the pace car after that incident. The drivers that stayed out, Shackelford, Horn, Jacoby, Thomas George, up to the 4th spot after his battles in the top 10 we've seen. Rhett McBride, Daniel Eberhardt, able to get back up through the field after his mistakes early on. William Kruska, Nicholas Caldwell, Dylan Phillips, Brian Spriggs. One driver did take 2, Scott McClendon, rolling the dice, trying to go for track position and a slightly more looser feel on the short run to try and gain spots if this becomes a caution breed caution kind of a race. With the way this is now trending now, this is again caution lap number 36 that we just seen, the 4th one already of the day. What do you think's going through some of the minds of these drivers, knowing that this is starting to get to where it's starting to build up? We've already had 2 cautions in the past 6 laps alone, for example, between lap 30 and 36.
Well, I guess there's could be a number of things going through the driver's mind. They're thinking, if they can get, another 8 or 10 laps on these tyres, it's going to take, potentially 5, 6, even 7 laps for the drivers that took 4, the likes of Farinas, Kyle Kamer, Stanford, just some of those guys. It might take them, 5 or 6 laps to get through the field to catch back up to, this lead pack. Once that happens, if they can, get back to the lead, or wait for those guys to catch up to them, then they hope that the caution flag comes out. So really, they're just trying to stay inside of that track position and making the guys in the mid-pack work harder, where they're at a lot more of a risk than the guys in the middle of the pack. The likes of Farinas, he's going to be restarting in 12th. That's near dead center of where you don't want to be sometimes, because if someone mucks up in front of you, then that concertina effect comes into play. You've not only got to worry about the guys in front of you, if you got a guy on the left side, if you got a guy on the right side, but then you got to worry about the guys behind you as well. So there could be a number of different reasons on why those drivers stayed out. I mean, there's only one way to find out, and that is if we go and speak to the drivers themselves.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions for some of the drivers, of course. You have to be in the top 3 to make it to said press box. Unless you end up coming in with a chainsaw and breaking down the door, you could always come in like that. But in all seriousness, we're on 1 to go until the restart. We're going to be restarting right at the halfway point. Shackelford Horn on the front row. Jason Jacoby in the J. Jacoby 88 machine starts in the 3rd, with Thomas J. George in 4th. McBride Eberhardt in row number 3. Row number 4, Kruska, Caldwell, Phillips, and Spriggs inside the top 10. Jeremy E. Miller, credited with the caution point, as well as the end of the longest line penalty for that last caution. This is going to get very interesting here. Most of the field, if not all of the field, can make it on fuel from here on out. It's just about which drivers survive with the least amount of damage. And while going full throttle around this racetrack, try not burn up the tires. Pace car heads its way through turn number 4 and gets ready to duck its way back down into the lane. Shackelford last time went on pace car. He does again this time. Green flag's back out. Massive checkup in the back. But either way, Shackelford, Horn, Jacoby, George, along with the rest of the top 6, a great launch.
Horn almost got into the side of Jacoby then. Horn actually went to come down low, but he realised at the last second that Jacoby was still on that inside line. Jacoby got the run and had to really take evasive action, go back to the outside line. And speaking of Jacoby, he's looking on the outside. He squeezes on the outside of Shackelford as they go into turn number 3. And here comes Connor Horn back to the inside. 3 wide for the race lead into turn number 3.
Massive run for Horn as he's able to take the race lead for the time being. Right behind them, it's 4 wide. Cars are bumping and banging. Caution flag about to come out as the 21 car spins. Caution flag is out. McClendon slipped up the racetrack. And in the end, Brendan Johnson gets hit like a ping pong ball. In the 4 wide situation, we're back under yellow on lap 41.
Well, it is again of cautions, buried cautions. And once again, driver's been, I think, maybe a little too aggressive. It was just a case of a racing deal. That one, as the 21 trying to go inside of that 31 machine, the 31 car. Just trying to look through my numbers here.
Yeah.
Dylan Phillips.
Yes, again, Dylan Phillips, who's also been involved in 1 caution already today.
Yeah. All right, so we take a look at the LSR TV replay. Phillips actually came up into the side of the 51 car of Scott McClendon. And then, of course, the 21 car of Brandon Johnson, who tried to go back to the inside, just try to avoid that one. Just those cars in front of them, the 88 car of Andrew Farinas, I spoke about it before. Those guys in the mid-pack, if something happens in front of you, you've got to watch out for guys that are behind you and also on the side. So, Farinas got lucky that time, but will he get lucky again? Never know, is the question as Connor Horn comes down pit road. Skylar Shackelford is going to stay out onto the racetrack with Jason Jacoby.
And I'm hearing there might be a potential penalty, because if we can look back at the restart, you're not allowed to change lanes before the start and finish line, as following with NASCAR's policies, of course, in RSR. Connor Horn, you may have seen, is looking like he will potentially be called for, yes indeed, changing lanes, where he went to block Jacoby, then back up to the high side. He will have to go all the way to the back. The second week in a row we've seen a changing lanes before the start and finish line penalty in the series.
Yeah, well, I did call that during as well. Just as they went down the back straightaway, I did say that, Horn actually went down to the low side to block Jacoby, and then, realised Jacoby was still there, and then had to come back up the racetrack. So, a costly penalty for Connor Horn. At the moment, he's going to restart in that 24th spot, I believe. In fact, he might go even back down to like 31st, 32nd, as I'm watching a couple of cars come back on pit road. Dylan Phillips in the 31, making another trip down to pit road. In fact, he's just about to exit, I believe.
Indeed, right now, I think, yes, indeed, we have 32 on the lead lap. Brenton Johnson taking the credit for the caution, gets a caution point, and a minute's longest line penalty as well. So they will be 31st and 32nd potentially on this restart. But again, this is going to make things even more so interesting. Again, just past the halfway point, and a lot of action still to go. Why don't we go to your midway race break, presented by Ford Entertainment Group. Right now in your action so far, under caution, once again for the 5th time today, Skylar Shackelford leads the race, with Jason Jacoby in the 2nd spot. Thomas J. George sits in the 3rd spot with Danny Eberhardt and William Kruska in the top 5. Rhett McBride sits in 6th, with Nicholas Caldwell in 7th, Kyle Kammer in 8th. First driver on the freshest 4-tire strategy is Andrew Farinas. He sits in 9th. Eric Stanford rounds out your top 10. Josh Gerlach in 11th, with John Fowler in 12th. Andrew T. Jones is in 13th with Jonathan Cadell in 14th. Brian Spriggs is in P15, Bryant Lambert 16th. Brian Macklin is all the way back in the 17th spot in the 30 machine. Brad Board 18th with Chad Schilling and Bryce Whitson Jr. rounding out your top 20. Real quickly, go through the rest of your grid. Jeremy Wittenberg, Joker Johnson, Jeremy E. Miller, and Brian Chambliss sit in P21 through 24, with R.J. Williams in the 25th spot. Greg Omo, a rough day, started 35th, already destroyed front bumper, sits in 26th. Dylan Phillips in 2 different cautions today, bounced around like a pinball ball, ends up in 27th. Connor Horn currently scored in 28th. Jeremy Bazemore, Brandon Johnson, Scott McClendon round out the drivers credited now in the lead lap. Matthew Miller still in the pits getting repairs. Kurt Rittenberg in 3 laps down situation, 33rd. Jared Estrop 34th. DNF to the race along with Scott Brotherton, Anthony Fredericks, Chase F. Austin, and Tom Moreno. So those are your 38 drivers again for your field, and that was a look at your Ford Entertainment Group midway race break. Ford Entertainment Group PC has been serving the iRacing community with custom-built, affordable community specifically built and tuned for iRacing. Your PC will come with everything you need, preloaded so you can get racing as soon as it hits your doorstep. Get yours today and join the 600-plus iRacers already enjoying an FEG PC. PCs to fit every budget from $540 on up. Visit www.feg.pc.net and mention the code LSRTV10 and get your build quoted today. And as you've seen, some drivers really stuck where they started off for the most part. A lot of drivers that started off in the 20s still down there in the outside the top 10. A couple drivers that have been in trouble, of course, shuffling down as we're 1 degree. Brett.
Sorry, you caught me mid yawn. A little tired over here, but I tell you what, Daniel Eberhardt, we've seen him take those 2 tyres to get to that track position and then come back down pit road where to take those 4 tyres, realising that, was going to be a big mistake. He's up to P4. Now, remember, he was back in position 36 about, I'm going to say, 20, 25 laps ago. Keep an eye on that 90 machine, but keep an eye on that inside row as well.
Green flags back out. We're underway on lap number 46. This time, a much better restart for everyone on the top and the bottom as Freenars dives to the outside at the back of the top 10 grouping. Shackelford, though, going to have to block 2 lanes because Thomas J. George now leads that bottom side.
Yeah, Jacoby on his outside as well, so we'll see how they fare down the back straightaway. George pushing Shackelford all the way down, but Daniel Eberhardt pushing Jason Jacoby on that outside line as well. So 2 by 2 by 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of 2 by 2 at the moment. Here on this restart, lap number 46 going to be complete. Skylar Shackelford, he's going to lead his 18th lap of the race, but Jason Jacoby almost getting to the outside and getting a good run down the front straightaway. Jacoby near going to clear him going into turn 1, but Shackelford's got the run on the inside line. 3 wide, nearly 4 wide behind him.
McBride tries to squeeze it in, hits the door of Cameron. They all save it forward. Freenage, though, trying to keep it side by side. Trouble behind. Kruska hits the door of Caldwell. Caldwell goes to the inside. Off the racing surface. No caution, as that's going to be Caldwell destroyed on the back stretch. They're still 3 wide, though, battling for the 5th spot.
Yeah, Farina's on the inside of the 8 machine. No, sorry, the 5 of Kyle Kamer. And then on the outside, Rhett McBride as well. So Farina's 3 wide. He's in a battle 3 wide. They got 3 wide behind him. But you've also got a battle on for the race lead. Shackelford and Jason Jacoby. Jacoby led the previous lap. We're coming to complete lap. Well, we're on lap number 48 at the moment. So still 32 and a half to go. And there is still plenty of action all the way from first through to your top 20.
This is going to get very interesting with the different strategies. Eberhardt giving the push to Shackelford this time to clear on the outside line. It looks like, though, he might be trying to set up for the run once more. Following the same line as Jacoby up in that top 3. George losing some time back. But look at Freenars. He's up to the 5th spot. Jacoby, though, fakes out Shackelford. Again tries to side draft him. Going into turn number 1. Can't get to the quarter panel, though, to try and make it work. Instead, he's going to have to check up, nearly giving the bump to Shackelford on the corner exit. Here comes Eberhardt.
Eberhardt, Jacoby using the outside line down the back straight away. Eberhardt going to move back to the inside and try and give Shackelford a little bit of a nudge there. Keep an eye on Farinas as well. He's on 12-lap fresher tyres than what your top 5 the rest of the top 5 is. Shackelford, Jacoby, Eberhardt, George, and also Rhett McBride, as it's still Jacoby and Shackelford still going side by side for the race lead. Farinas goes outside, inside on Jason George, and Daniel Eberhardt looking to pick up 2 for the price of 1 in turns 1 and 2 in the 88 of Andrew Farinas. He's picked up the last 3 wins in a row. Can he make it 4 straight? We've still got 13 a bit laps left to run.
Farinas having a strong season so far compared to his campaign to the championship last year. He ended up having a best finish of 17th, entering the same race number last season. Caution flag, though, is back out. Another big one. Bryce Whitson involved. Greg Olmo involved. Caution flag again is out, coming to lap 51.
Now we'll take a look at your LSR TV instant replay.
And this happened all the way in turn 3, yeah.
Yeah, Greg Olmo, again, you can see on screen, another 3-wide battle. It was the 0-0 of Bryce Whitson Jr. had contact with, I believe, Chad Schilling in the 25 car. Both those drivers got sideways. In the 91 car, Greg Olmo had some contact with, I believe it was Bryce Whitson Jr. in the 0-0. And then we had the 23 car, I think it was, coming through to finish off, and might have been... Trying to get that number correct. It might have been the
That would be Jeremy E. Miller, yes. Jeremy E. Miller.
23, yeah, again. So Miller's sort of, I guess in the last couple of cautions, he's sort of been sort of at the full front of it, but I guess, none of it you could say it was really his fault, but I guess when you're caught up in that sort of stuff, you just, it's an unlucky night for you.
Very unlucky night indeed. Yes, Miller was just maybe 1 second away from getting through all that. Instead, of course, seeing him get turned around. Again, caution officially marked as lap 50. A big one at the back of the field. Brendan Johnson losing his motor, a part of it. Everyone else, though, in live action, ducking down towards the pit lane. And I should say a majority, in fact, all in fact, is coming into the pits. As this will mean everyone will get back to the cycle, the same cycle rather. But it also means everyone who stayed out and on those prior cautions now gains all that track position as they come out with Farinas sliding his way just in front of Shackelford to retake the race lead.
There is just something going on with that 88. No matter what he does, it always just seems to be pinpoint. Just accuracy. It just, everything that he does is just always top notch. And I guess that's the reason why he's won, the past 3 races out of the 4 so far that we've had. He's looking to win, keep that win percentage up at 80% at the moment. He's going to retake this lead. You go back 20 odd laps ago. We started talking about fuel strategy and whatnot, and then we spoke about the drivers staying out. This is exactly what those drivers would have wanted to happen and hope that was going to happen, I guess you could say, in regards to when it comes to strategy-wise. Skylar Shackelford, Jason Jacoby, Daniel Eberhardt, all those drivers, everybody on a fresh 4 set of tyres. And now we get this Andrew Farinas restart. He's going within about 3-4 seconds of that pace car turning on pit road. And you know what? I think we're going to see deja vu. We're going to see where that inside line, really slow up and really miss that start.
Yeah, that was something seen throughout the entire week, throughout the service. If a driver went, say, right at the realistic restart zone to give a sort of a marker towards some of these drivers, a lot of the drivers in the back would end up nearly running over the drivers in front. It ends up leading to 3-4 wide in the back. I don't think that's, again, what they want to see here for the rest of tonight's action. But now it's going to be a matter of how does this race trend on from here. 27 laps to go this time by, 28 officially on the ticker. As Freenards is in the lead, Shackelford second, Jacoby third. Eberhardt is back in the hunt. He's in the fourth spot. Stanford fourth. McBride in, I should say Stanford fifth. McBride in sixth. Cadell in seventh. George eighth. Cameron ninth. And a man that's had a rough season so far is Andrew T. Jones in P number 10. For Andrew T. Jones, of course, was a part of the final for the championship four. Heading into Homestead last season, this season has been bounced around like a ping pong ball, going its way down a slow, snowy slope and going over a bunch of ramps and jumps. That very confusing analogy kind of has been the definition of how the season has gone. Only one top 10, so far 28 total incident points. That is not the caution points. Those are incident points within the sim. And in the end, having some bad luck and some bad runs in some top 10 position. Now for the driver, though you see on the front side of your screens, it's Andrew Freenars. Heading towards the pace car again, one to go this time by McClendon, the only wave around car this time. 27 drivers are left on the lead lap. Nicholas Caldwell ends off that said lead lap. Joker Johnson was the lucky dog on the caution. As now they try and line themselves again back behind that pace car to get ready to go here. Justin Prince alongside Brett Wheeler in the booth here tonight. And what has been a wild one. Again, to say the very, very, very least in terms of how this race has flowed. What are your expectations from here? What is on your mind, essentially, as we head towards another restart with 26 to go this time?
Look, I would love to see this race just go all the way right now and, really change things up. I think we're going to see about another 10 or 15 laps. We may see another caution again. I think we're going to see 2 more cautions before the end of this one. But again, it's going to be those strategies when those cautions play out. Who knows? It's going to be a real big question mark on this field.
We'll see which driver takes away the question marks and which ones at exclamation marks. They head towards the exit of turn number 4. Again, Freenars the controlled car. Shackelford on the outside line. As noted before, Freenars compared to Shackelford at least 2 or 3 seconds later. We'll see if he's consistent with this restart position. Pace car is off. Towards the restart zone they go. Green flag waves. We're back underway. They really bunch up towards the outside line this time, but Freenars gets the push from Jacoby to clear Shackelford.
I wonder if that might have been a ploy, a tactic from Freenars, to really wait for these cars and really wait for that green flag to be thrown, just so he doesn't have that much of a gap when they go down the back straightaway. This time he's got Jacoby pushing him down the back straightaway, and then you go back to Shackelford, Daniel Eberhardt as well, Jacoby moving to the outside on Farina, so still, what we've seen so far, that's probably the best restart going into 3 that we've had, that Farina's has had so far when it comes to having someone behind him and not, the 19 car. Eric Stanford coming back up the racetrack. Oh my God, he done well.
He's still in the grass and still spinning out. This might bring out the yellow. He's on the track, but no one else is behind. This will not bring out the yellow. They're still side by side for the race lead. Jacoby battling now with Freenars. Side by side for the race lead. Shackelford tries to line up with Eberhardt now to try and get that drag back. Jacoby, though, takes it back. Freenars, though, lines back up to try and rebuild the momentum and block Shackelford on the bottom. On the top, rather.
The top, they really, nose to tail into turn number 3. They all went to the bottom side to the middle of 3 and 4. It's Jacoby going to lead his 11th lap of this race, and we've really seen drivers... we haven't seen one driver really dominate, the laps led. When it comes to this one, it's been very evenly spread out between Farina's, Jacoby, Shackelford as well. Farina's back down to the inside, looks for the slide job in turns 1 and 2. Jacoby keeps the run down out of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Jacoby back to the race lead, down the back straightaway. Good racing right now. Again, between your top 4 as they continue to go nose to tail, just trying to settle down and get into a rhythm here.
Again, for those wondering, the tire wear usually sets in around lap 20. And that's where a lot of drivers might spread out if we stay green. That's going to be the big if, though, as Jacoby leads once more. Eberhardt, though, able to pass on by Shackelford. But look who snuck his way, though, in towards the top 10 as that all happened. Cadell with a good restart, up to P8 now. Along with Connor Horn, who's back up to P number 9 with all of that happening. Yeah,
both those drivers had a few issues about 20-odd laps ago. And they've done what Daniel Eberhardt did as well. Remember, Eberhardt, on one of the second or third caution, he went back to position number 36. He's in third, so some of these drivers have got the talent and the skill to really come back through this field. Of course, they've had some luck on their side, and that's what you need in these races.
Caution flag is back out, another one in turn 4 this time. Dylan Phillips involved again, and it's another 3-wide battle that ends up into trouble with Brian Spriggs this time. Also making the contact in the 3-wide situation into 3, as we'll see on the LSR TV replay, Brett.
We've seen this a couple of times tonight. The guys at the back go 3 wide, and this is where they make the contact. Whether it's the guy in the middle that drifts up or drifts down, or it's the guy on the outside that comes down, or the guy on the inside that comes up. We've seen it, and it's been, I don't want to call them out, but it's been the same couple of drivers that have caused these issues in the back. And I think it's not good for the guys that are trying to race up front. I'm sure there is some some frustration out there, to say that, but just from our vantage point as well, and everybody else that's watching, they want to see the guys up front race it out. We've seen that happen. They're coming back down to pit road. We've only had, 7 laps, I think, and, well, they're going to take this opportunity to come back down pit road and get that fresh rubber.
As Jeff Gordon, as Larry McReynolds actually said on Sunday, if they have 4 laps on the tires, they're going to come down. Most of the field does come down, except for a couple. Thomas George, and I believe that is Scott McClendon, the lucky dog, are the only drivers that didn't duck down to the pit lane, as everyone stops back in their stalls once more.
All right, now this is this is the question that we asked, 20 laps ago when Shackelford, Jacoby, all those guys, when those guys stayed out. Those guys had between those top 5 that stayed out on those 12-lap older tires. They had, I think it was about 10 to 12 positions between themselves and the guys that come in. Thomas George, he doesn't have that. They are going to be right on his back bumper on this restart. He's going to have 8-lap old tires. Again, I think that's a mistake from Thomas George's part, but there's a reason why I don't race these cars, and there is a reason why that if I did, I wouldn't be anywhere near the front.
Don't say that. You might go towards the front if
only if everybody else pits and I stay out. That's the only reason I'm going to the front in these cars.
Okay, we'll see if that is indeed the case. If I end up racing against you. In all seriousness, though, McGeorge stayed out, but we did have drivers take 2 as well, which you can do towards the range of up to 5 laps safely, at least, as shown in the past few years. McBride, Kammer, amongst the drivers that took 2. Also taking 2 was Macklin to move back to 7th, and Kruzka to move back up to 11th. The rest of the field that came in are on 4 tires. On their strategies now as they line up behind the pace car, 2 to green this time by, it appears.
All right, so the drivers that took 2 tires. What did Freenas take? Did Freenas get 4? I didn't quite.
He took 4. He took 4. He did indeed take 4 tires. Freenas did with the 15-second pit stop time, but was one of the faster times on the lane with 44.6 seconds from cone to cone.
Daniel Eberhardt was a tenth quicker, actually 44.6. Jeez, they just they tell you what, their pit crew's got something worked out. I guess if you're Daniel Eberhardt and you got your girlfriend as your spotter, sorry, that's Jacoby.
Yes, that's Jacoby.
All right, so he's looking at a second off. I think maybe he might not be listening to her. I think behind every man is a good woman, so I think he might need to to listen to if he's going to have any chance at getting back up to the front. Yeah, in saying that, he's led a ton of laps in. I think he's led about 13 or 14 laps. But how long? Question is, how many laps does it take Andrew Farinas to get back to the front on these fresh 4 tyres?
I would say one.
One.
He's done things that every other driver has been shocked about or amazed about. We've seen it on the old draft package. He might be able to do the same in the new draft package here. George, again, the control car for this restart. 1 to go. He drives the Milwaukee number 9 Chevrolet. Then you have Rhett McBride in the River Watch Brewery number 5 on the outside of row number 1. Cameron Farinas row 2. Eberhard Jacoby row 3. And a car I'd like to focus on for a moment here is in P7. Brian Macklin is in the 7th spot today. Of course, with a special sponsor on board that number 30 machine today. Of course, as you can tell, that is a part of the American Lund Association and a part of their Lund Force campaign for 2019. Of course, Macklin, unfortunately, his grandmother was diagnosed with lung cancer in the mid-2010s and is driving this special scheme with permission from the American Lund Association. He told me before the start of today's race, if he finishes top 5, he'll donate $25 to the Lund Force campaign, $50 if he comes away with the checkered flag here. A great cause to be a part of.
Getting set to go back to green flag. We're going to go on board on this restart with the man that's picked up the last 3 wins in a row, and the man that we've been talking a bit about tonight. And, well, of course, we've got every reason to. The 88 of Andrew Farinas, as we sit inside of the cockpit of this race car and watch him work his magic for the first couple of turns.
Let's see what he does on board here as they head to the restart zone. This time, George off and away earlier. Off and away they go. And George able to clear along with Cameron. But as you see on board, Farinas dots his way to the inside line.
Just looks so smooth, not only on the throttle but also on the inside the cockpit, on the wheel of that car. You really see him working that middle groove of the racetrack. Just sitting behind the 8 car of Kyle Kamer. They get to the outside of your race leader Thomas George, and Thomas George stayed out on those 8-lap older tyres, and that's certainly going to hurt him going into turn number 3. Kyle Kamer, your new race leader.
Especially to try and stay full throttle, as a lot of drivers need to do at the start of these runs to maintain speed and momentum with the lower horsepower from 750 to 550. Farinas, meanwhile, giving the bump draft to Cameron as they head into turn number 1 this time. I think he's trying to break the draft a little bit.
Yeah, that's one thing I was going to ask. Is it maybe a case of if he tries to push away, tries to push Kamer, as that's actually Kamer's first lap that he's led in this race. So well done to Kyle Kamer, but he's got some experience behind him. He's going to have 2 very experienced campaigns behind him in just a moment. As Jason Jacoby now, he's going to look to the outside of Andrew Farinas. So that bump draft that Farinas had on Kamer, it's going to get interrupted here. And Jason Jacoby, he's now going to have his chance to push Kyle Kamer. But Kamer comes back down to the low side in front of Andrew Farinas.
Kamer having to block the lanes like a super speedway. This time, though, Farinas gets the run on the inside. Able to get the side draft as he takes the race lead. Jacoby tries to follow the hole through. They're 3 wide, meanwhile, behind them, battling for the 5th spot. Still, meanwhile, the battle for the race lead up to 4 drivers. They might go to potentially 3 wide this time as Kamer gives the bump. 3-car bump draft. Kamer has to get out of the gas.
Hats off to Jason George. 8-lap older tyres. He's just been chewed up and spat out. He's got drivers in front of him that are 2 wide. He's got a driver inside and outside. And he's got drivers that are 2 wide behind him. And he's just holding the middle. Meanwhile, 3 wide for second. Eberhard on the inside of Jacoby, who's in the middle. And Kamer, who's on the outside. There were 3 wide as they went into that turn. And Farinas still with the race lead. He's looking to lead his 25th lap as they come down the back straightaway.
Jeremy E. Miller, involved in one of the last crashes, gets out of the way quickly. They nearly reached him at the wrong spot. Instead, Farinas still keeps the race lead. They're back to 2 wide behind them. Make it 3 now, potentially for second, as Kamer slides on back. Jacoby again with the preferred line on the outside this time. 14 to go this time by at the stripe. Everyone trying to make their way to the front. Kamer again with the run towards Eberhardt. This time Eberhardt on the bottom side.
Now Kamer works inside on Eberhardt, side by side. Jacoby watching this battle unfold in front of him. Kamer just got a little bit loose there. Just a moment, overdrove it a bit on the exit of turn number 2. That allowed Jason Jacoby in that 3 machine to get up on the back bumper of the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt, who was getting pushed all the way down the back straightaway. They caught Farinas, and Farinas, he got a bit of a bump from behind from Eberhardt as well. They come off a turn number 4. 67 complete, 13 to go, and a good period of green flag action here right now. And we've seen it all night. Once we've got those green flag laps, your top 5 in the battle on for the race lead has certainly been spectacular, with guys chopping and changing not only lines, but also chopping and changing positions as well.
And look at that cloud that's starting to float over the racetrack. The track temperature starting to dip and change as well. More grip now as the track temp has dropped 6 degrees in the past lap alone. Eberhardt again gives the bump this time as they stay single file top 4. They're still shuffling for the 5th spot. Shackelford back in front of Macklin after Macklin made the pass last time by. Battle for the race lead, though again as Eberhardt this time elects to bump draft. Jacoby decides to ditch him. And it looks like he had to check up.
Yeah, some interesting strategies going on. Some mind games, I must say, from the top 3. Who's going to be the best? Who's going to play the best mind games, and who's going to win this one? At this stage, you would think that Farinas has got it, but with the way that Eberhardt and Jacoby are driving, any one of these 3 drivers can really take it out. You never know. A bit of bad luck might strike one of them, whereas you can really give an outsider, Kyle Kamer, a look at your race. He's sitting back there in 4th and 5th. Skylar Shackelford and Brian Macklin, who's sitting in P6 as well, so nice job for those drivers. Connor Horn up to position 7, and your Daytona winner, Jonathan Cadell, up to position number 9.
A lot of shuffling again with the front drivers. Horn, meanwhile, tries to set it in deep on the bottom side. Meanwhile, trouble behind. George involved. RJ Williams making contact as the caution flags out in turn 2. We're back under yellow on lap 70. Wow. All I can say is you'll see here on the LSR TV replay a big wreck in turn 2 for those 2.
I think, yeah, the 33 of RJ Williams, who was on the inside on George. They just had a little contact. George came down the, sorry, not George came down the racetrack. Williams came down the racetrack. As you see the the LSR TV replay, just going into 3, George and Williams made contact. Williams came down, he overcorrected it, and then got into left rear quarter panel at Milwaukee Power Tools. Number 9 of Jason George, who stayed out on the previous restart. Right now, JP, what's the strategy? Knowing that, we're 10 laps away at the moment. We are, by the time we go back green, we're probably 5 or 6 laps away from finishing this one. Do you go in for tyres or do you stay out?
Based on what I'll be honest, from what I've seen, staying out has been the winning race move because of what has happened on these caution, precautions, end of the race restart sequences. The thing is, though, we've seen much clearer restarts than the rest of the iRacing community, no offense to them. This could be a wild one. We'll see who elects to take tires.
Wow.
Jacoby does not. Kamer does not.
Wow.
McBride does not. Majority of the drivers do, but 5 at the very least. Make it 6. Make it 7, in fact, stay out. Make it now 9 and 10 plus. Even George stayed out after the caution.
Oh, we spoke about the mind games. Has Jason Jacoby, has he just pulled off the heist of the century? He stays out along with a lot of the other drivers. Your top 9 that are going to stay out. As I said, we're going to restart with, I think, about 6, even 5 to go. Of course, we talk about, well, previously, there's been talk about the point of no return. If a caution flag flies inside of 5 laps or less, the race will end under safety and behind the pace vehicle. From what we've seen tonight, there is a high possibility that will happen because drivers are going to get desperate in those last 5 laps that they're going to make moves that they might not have made in, say, the first 5 or 10.
And that's going to be what could potentially cause a crazy, very insane finish to this race, potentially. Here at Auto Club, there are in some special cases where you can have a restart come for a one-lap shootout if the caution happens coming from 5 to go to 4 to go. We'll have to see what happens, though, here. Again, Jacoby out in the front. Also staying out, Kamer, McBride, Cadell, Kruzka, John Fowler, who we haven't talked much about, in the Universal number 22, the Dirty Monkey Motorsports team car entry. He stayed out. Also a quiet day for Brad Bohr in the Chevrolet machine. The Chevrolet-sponsored Chevrolet, say that 10 times fast, in 7th. And then you have Chambers, who's been involved in a couple spins, and George, after the contact, taking the risk and staying out. The first driver who hit for tires is Shackelford. He took 2 for track position. Then you have Freenars, Eberhardt, Horn, 2 tires of Gerlach. Going back down to Stanford, Jeremy Renenberg, Chad Schilling, along with the rest of your top 20, Bazemore, Lambert. Essentially, depending on what happens here, anyone in this top 10 might have a shot, maybe even top 12 or top 14, might maybe have a chance if this goes to the finish.
Talk about pit times between, the likes of Shackelford, as you said, took 2 tyres, of course, from cone to cone, it was 40.4 seconds. Farinars was 44 flat. Eberhardt was 45.1, along with Connor Horn and Andrew Jones. Is that the case of that extra second? Is it a case of maybe just topping up the fuel tank just a little bit, just to make sure that you're going to get there? How much fuel has Farinars got?
No.
No?
No, again, the fuel, I think a lot of these drivers, again, you can make it up to on 44 laps, give or take, on fuel. A lot of the drivers, if they take less fuel here, Brett, that means the cars are lighter, meaning the cars are faster, but also a bit lighter because they're not as heavy in terms of the car. That is very different to, say, a NASCAR truck, where that's the opposite. You need to have the fuel to weigh down the back end. 1 to go on the track, meanwhile. We'll have potentially a 6-lap dash to the finish here, Brett.
Well. It's come down to the last 6 laps, and again, it was the track position. Jason Jacoby, Kyle Kamer, Rhett McBride, Jonathan Kendall. Those are just the top 2 rows that stayed out. Of course, the top 4 rows, or 4.5 rows, in fact, the inside of row number 5, Thomas George, he stayed out as well. So your top 9 drivers stayed out purely and simply for track position. Has Shackelford, has Farinas, has Eberhardt, has Horn, have those drivers, have they got enough laps? Have they got enough speed to get up to your race leader in these final 6 laps? And just remember, and of course, if we get to about lap 76 or lap 77, that's where you got to start to think again. If a caution flag flies, it's gonna finish this race up.
We'll see how they handle the restart. Once again, top 9 stayed out. 10th is on 2 tires. Majority of the rest of the drivers are on 4 tires on back. Who will come away with the checker flag, or who will end up coming away with just their steering wheel in their hands? We're about to find out. Pace car heads its way towards the exit of turn number 4. Get on your feet, folks. Jacoby is the control car. Kamer on the outside. Cadell falls on the outside line. McBride to the inside. Jacoby's off and away. Green flag's out. We're back racing in the Auto Club 80 once more. And a good launch from Jacoby, but Kamer and Cadell are both working together, bump drafting their way heading towards turn 1.
Yeah, Cadell and McBride almost had contact going into turn number 1. Meanwhile, Kamer, he's tucked in behind the 3 of Jacoby. Here goes Cadell on the outside, your Daytona winner from week number 1. McBride tucks in behind the 69 car. We'll try and keep an eye on Shackelford, Farinas, and Eberhardt as well, who restarted in rows 6 and 7. We'll see how they fare through the field. Whoa. Look at Shackelford in the 12 car. He's just making moves. He's up to P7, and with 5 laps to go, there's a good chance that Shackelford is going to go to the front, but there's still a lot of cars in front of him. Full wide car down the front straight away. Look at Eberhardt through the middle.
Huge runs for the drivers on fresh tires. Shackelford and Eberhard both slicing and dicing their way to the top 5 in one lap. It's not over yet. 3 wide on the corner exit of turn 2. Still 3 wide behind them. Eberhard tries to squeeze his bike right. Kruska makes contact. Big wreck down the backstretch. This might end it. Caution flag is out. Kruska flips upside down. And Jason Jacoby might come away with the checker flag in this one. What in the world was that down the backstretch? A big one to end the race. They're still wrecking into turn 3.
Shackelford, Farinas, Horn, Eberhard just making moves. We had taken a look at the LSR TV replay. The 29 car of William Kruska and Daniel Eberhard got together on the back straightaway. And unfortunately that sent Eberhard into a frenzy, a flipping frenzy along with the 29 car. In fact, he went for a massive ride. Just unfortunately, he's back on all fours, but you see on the replay, just drivers literally just all over the racetrack just trying to fight for position. And it's those guys that had the fresher tyres that really made their presence felt in that opening lap and a half on that initial start.
And Eberhard obviously taking credit for the caution flag, as he was the one who made it 4 wide in a half a car length hole. Onside Kamer. That 8 machine is lucky he didn't get in. He's lucky he didn't have contact from behind, because it was just beside him. You're going to have to explain this one to me. What do you think he might have been thinking in that chaotic situation with that massive run he was having?
Just get to the front. Just get to the front no matter what you got to do. Just look for a gap and just a whole 8.5.
And now in the end, they have no front. He's got no front bumper. Also jumping is that 19 machine once more into the pit lane to get some repairs, it appears, in Stanford. No front bumper anymore. Now driving a modified, in fact, is Cadell in this situation. But we are in the case where there is a 50-50 chance, I should note, of a potential one-lap shootout, and that might get chaotic. Again, that's an if. We were right at the point of no return for Auto Club Speedway with the caution coming to 4 to go. We're about to find out any moment here what's going to happen, because if we do restart this race, it's going to be crazy. If we don't, Jason Jacoby's going to go crazy getting his first win of the season.
Just imagine what is going on in the mind now. Of course, we've got no way of knowing if these drivers are still pacing or whether they're on 2 to green. The drivers know, in fact, if they're on 2 to green or not. If they are, if they're on pacing, of course, you know, we'll then under yellow behind the pace car. Does this mean that Jason Jacoby, does this mean that he's now fulfilled a full-time spotter?
Maybe.
She's 1 from 1. That's if yeah, these drivers are on pacing.
I'm curious to see too. Maybe we'll have to see what they elect to do. Again, they have a week off after this race, by the way, before the Texas race. But now we're about to find out if we go back green or if we finish under the checker. Pace car passes the line. We do, in fact, stay with the lights on the pace car. We are done. They will pace for the next 2 times around the circuit. Jason Jacoby wins his first race of the season, pending anything does not happen. He is one of 4 drivers that has made every single corner on the circuit. One of the drivers that has been in the least amount of incidents this season, has had a pole, has been up in the front with speed, has tried different strategies. Finally, Jacoby gonna find his way to victory lane, depending on if anything was to happen down these next lap and a half here at the Auto Club Speedway.
I don't want to say for certainty that are trapped up. I mean, anything is a possibility. Yeah, there's things that can go horribly wrong at the wrong time. So let's hope that everything stays solid for that number 3 machine for this final lap and a corner. But this is our 5th race of the season so far. This is our 3rd different winner. Of course, Jonathan Cadell picked up the win at Daytona. Andrew Farinas then went on a 3-race winning streak, and Jason Jacoby has just broken that one as we come up to, as you said, a week off before we head to Texas in 2 weeks. That alone, Texas, then you go, we talk the likes of going to Texas, go to Bristol, go to Richmond. I mean, anything is possible at those racetrack. One racetrack that I'm excited to go for is Bristol. It's Bristol, baby, in about 3 or 4 weeks' time.
That was where Fernandez broke through and won his first race of the season after the best finish of 17th right before then in terms of the first 4 or 5 races on the season. White flag waving, still under yellow. Jacoby just has to pace his way around one more time. Got to give it to Kamer, though. Had the right strategy to stay out there and finished off in second. Gonna actually get a bit of a bump draft to Jason Jacoby. Of course, this is going to be Kamer's strongest run, I think, of the season so far for the Aegis team driver. He's going to come away second. Shackelford with one of his best finishers now. Just the second top 5 of the year and third. Horn, again, showing why he's potentially one of the top drivers to watch for this season. With his second top 5. Frenars, his 4th top 5. And Goodell, with his strongest run of his strongest runs, rather. In fact, is his strongest run, I believe, since Daytona in 6th, even with the chaos. Brad Bohr in 7th. Stanford 8th. Gerlach 9th. Chambliss in 10th. Lots of drivers going to look back, though, too, as we'll discuss when we show the race results, that are going to look back and say, what if? Eberhardt, one of those. Started 6th. Had one of the fastest cars heading towards that caution situation. Ends up flipping a car over. Just a lot of question marks to go on from here on out, I think, here, Brett.
Yeah, and as I said, it all come back down to that pit strategy where Farinas was one of those first cars to go into the pits when there was about 10 laps to go. So we spoke about it before. What, as you said, what if there's a whole lot of question marks. Hats off to Shackelford, Connor Horn, Farinas as well, for not only coming from that 6th and 7th row on that restart to get by 8 or 9 cars in a matter of 3 or 4 laps, get to a chance at potentially taking that race win away. But unfortunately, things just didn't fall their way towards the end. And well, as a result, because of Jason Jacoby, one of those cars that stayed out, he finds himself going to victory lane.
Jason Jacoby wins the Auto Club 80. He's working his way for the cool-down lap. A couple drivers, like Andrew Frenars, already congratulating him with some taps. Frenars has said multiple times that he's been one of the best drivers. They've been battling back and forth. They were actually banging doors at some points at ISM. And now Jacoby able to finally break through to win his first race of the season. A good feeling for him as the rest of the drivers duck their way around. When we come back, we'll break down your race results. Jason Jacoby is your race winner at Auto Club Speedway in the first race of the brand new draft package for the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by Sim Racers for Mental Health. Slide in the grass, Jacoby. He's your race winner. We'll be back after these messages.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
We're back here at Auto Club Speedway here on the iRacing Esports Network and LSR TV for your post-race coverage of the Full Throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series, powered by Sim Racers for Mental Health. Jason Jacoby just finished up his smoke show, and as you'll see in the full race results for the Ford Entertainment Group, it was a reason to put on a smoke show. He came away as the race winner, staying out towards the last caution flag of the race, and taking the checker flag for the first time this season. Kyle Kamer came away in the second spot today, with Scott Shackelford having a huge burst of speed, moving up into the top 3 at the time of the caution. Able to get a top 5 with Connor Horn and Andrew Freenards rounding out your top 5. Jonathan Cadell came away in 6th with Brad Bohr coming away in 7th. Eric Stanford survived the mayhem for the 8th spot. Charles Gerlach and Brian Chambliss rounds out your top 10. Brian Macklin came away in the 11th spot after all that unfolded, while Jeremy Bazemore went from around the back end of the top 20 to 12th after the caution. Brian Lambert finished 13th, Thomas J. George 14th. Caldwell comes away in 15th with Joker Johnson, Brian Spriggs, William Kruzka, John Fowler, and Chad Schilling, rounding out your top 20. Andrew T. Jones came away 21st. Again, the bad luck snake bit him after being top 10 with about 15 laps to go. Rhett McBride, after the big one, went from top 10 to 22nd. Daniel Eberhardt getting the end of longest line penalty was done either way after destroying his car, trying to make it 4 wide down the back stretch. He finished 3 laps down in 23rd. Scott McClendon also did not survive the wreck, 4 laps down in 24th. Jeremy Rittenberg finished 5 laps down with a DNF. Also DNFs for RJ Williams, along with Jeremy Miller, Dylan Phillips, Kurt Rittenberg, and Greg Omo. Also along the DNF range in the rest of your top 48 today, Brenda Johnson, Bryce Whitson Jr., Matthew Miller, Anthony Fredericks, Jared Astrup, Scott Brotherton, Chase F. Austin, and Tom Moreno round out the 38 drivers that raced today. That was a look at your Ford Entertainment Group race results. FEGPC has been serving the iRacing community with custom-built, affordable computers specifically built and tuned for iRacing. Your PC will come with everything you need preloaded, so you can get iRacing as soon as it hits your doorstep. Get yours today and join the 600 plus iRacers already enjoying an FEG PC. PCs to fit every budget from $540 on up are available. Visit www.fegpc.net and mention the code LSRTV10 and get your build quoted today. And with that exciting race, let's bring in an excited driver. Someone that's been building their momentum to this moment. We joined Jason Jacoby on his YouTube broadcast as he took the checker flag for the first time this season. Jason, you finally made it to victory lane here at Auto Club with the new draft package. How are you feeling in that cockpit?
Justin, I feel great, man. It's really cool to win one of these races, and I'd just like to thank, like you mentioned, thank you for mentioning my stream, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/jjacoby88, because I'd love to thank all my awesome viewers, stream chatters, everyone on the iRacing Esports Network and LSR TV who watched and stuck with us through the race, and that was really cool. And I just want to say, I know, Justin, you're a commentator here, but I know we've raced together here in iRacing recently, and you're a wheelman too, so it'd be cool to do some more races with you coming up. And, want to say thanks to Brian Macklin for running the league because, Brian used to commentate as well, and you see him up front every race now, and he's racing here. But, just want to thank all you guys for everything you do, and just want to give a shout out to you right quick, Justin, because it's cool to race you when we get to an NIS fixed.
Yeah, I think I raced you this weekend, actually, to mention that, and that was a crazy race. We've seen a similar type of race play out today. What was going through your mind as everything started off what seemed calm, and then caution breed cautions as we've seen for the final 20-plus laps?
Yeah, exactly, Justin. And that was from the race that you and I ran last night. What I learned from last night was what I applied today, and that was stay out on that last caution. Andrew Freenosh is like a master at all things iRacing when I race with him. And one of the things last week was the pit fake, and I kind of just messed up pitting at the end there last week. And I learned from that, and then also what we did in an IS Fix last night here at Auto Club, and that was to stay out at the end when Andrew and Daniel pitted. So that was what I figured would get the win, because seeing as we had a string of cautions earlier, or I'd say mid-race, I figured at the end everyone's really going to be going for it, so we'll probably get some cautions then, and that's how it played out. So I was able to get the win and bring her home under yellow and just stay out front because we got that yellow flag.
Yes, indeed. I'm glad you brought up that strategy. That seemed to work 9 times, in fact 10 out of 10 times, at least in NIS action. But in terms of everything else, how was your spotting tonight? I know Mackenzie Gordon was expected to spot for you for tonight's action, too, for this race.
Yeah, exactly. You know, my fiance Mackenzie does an amazing job. We were going to have her, she's got an account because she's iRacing now, and we'll have her channel up and running soon, at which point I'll be advertising that. But basically, I was going to use her account to come in as a spotter to have a different angle of camera for my stream. And what happened was her internet lost connection, so we could not get that second camera angle up, which is all fine and dandy, because I'm looking forward to seeing the close racing from the iRacing Esports Network perspective. But we are going to work on adding to my stream. When Mackenzie's not racing herself, we're going to use her account to provide a second stream camera while she's in there spotting and also reading off stream chat, so I can communicate with our awesome viewers we have.
Now, a couple more questions I have to ask here. Of course, we get the week off for next week's race. However, the next race is the April Fool's 125, where we're going to have the same package here, going from a 2-mile circuit to a 1.5-mile circuit. What do you expect when we head off to Texas Motor Speedway on April 1st?
Boy, I tell you what, we actually I had experience with that package in another league, and it was crazy, man. I'm going to submit that to the iRacing Top 10 for the end of the month, and I think it's going to make it, because what an insane race we had at Texas with this package. I love it, man. I just love this type of racing. I love any type of racing we do, but this one is just so fun. I just love the close quarters racing, and you know, so I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw today, except it's on a different track layout, which might make for some even tighter racing. But we're going to see some close racing, maybe some blocking, and I think we'll see a repeat of tonight, just a different way of driving the track since it's shaped differently. But you're going to see a lot of close racing for sure.
I know you started off by thanking some people. Who else do you want to thank before we let you go here for tonight's action?
Yes, sir, Justin. Once again, everyone watching, I have this beautiful paint scheme that I'm running was painted by James Collins, and I picked up a new graphics sponsor, Sim Graphics, and Mark Dingman was so kind to transfer the scheme over to a Toyota Camry, and Mark's going to be handling all my graphics work from now on, as well as for Mackenzie. So Facebook.com/Sim Graphics Racing. That's graphics, IX instead of ICS. All my fellow racers out there for a great time racing. Carbon Racing Solutions does awesome work on my website, simracingjason.com. Racing without the G, simracingjason. And they do wraps and all sorts of other things like that as well. So all my sponsors are on simracingjason.com, and can't thank each and every one of them enough. And appreciate it, guys. I'm really looking forward to that April Fool's race.
Congratulations on the victory. Jason Jacoby winning his first race of the season and coming away as the first winner in RSR to win in the 2019 draft package. Congratulations, Jason.
Thank you, Justin.
That was Jason Jacoby coming away as your race winner. After so much momentum and so much build-up, finally makes it to victory lane. The man who came one position short today is Kyle Kamer. He starts along. He's right now sitting right alongside Brett Wheeler. Brett?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Kyle, second place here tonight. Talk about what the emotions and how you're feeling at the moment right now, just after this event just happened.
Yeah, first, just want to say congrats to Jacoby. He's been so close over the last 10 or 12 races in this series. And and he's been foiled by pit strategies and other things that have prevented him from winning. So to finally break through and get a win, congrats to Jason. I'm real happy with getting a second place finish. I didn't get to put much time in this week working with the car in this track, so I was pretty slow for most of the run, and pit strategy at the end played out for us.
You led 2 laps here tonight, of course. That happened very early on in the race. Talk about how your race went through that mid pack of the race. Of course, you went back. You're pretty much a solid top 10 car all night, and that those last sort of 10 to 15 laps, you stayed out and opted to really take a gamble, and it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking on the radio about what were we going to do and what was everybody else going to do, and we basically decided we were just going to do the opposite of what the fast guys were doing, and or the guys that were mostly up front, and most of those guys ducked in, so we stayed out and hoped another caution would come. It would have been real interesting if there wasn't a caution right there, because I think we might have been 8 wide going into turn 3.
It's a case of what if for those other drivers, but it doesn't really concern you at the moment right now, because you've come away with a second place finish here tonight. So congratulations on that one. But of course, before we let you get out of here, sponsor shout out to who makes the wheels turn on that number 8 machine.
Yeah, first I just want to say give a shout out to Sean Kalis with RealSimRacing. He's on the car, but he normally runs in this series. He couldn't run tonight. They just had a brand new baby boy, so congratulations to Sean. He's at home enjoying that, new member of the family. Shout out to the rest of the guys on the Aegis team, Andrew and Eric, Daniel, Sean, Dave, Cato, and Dylan. And then the other sponsors on the car besides RealSimRacing, Box Crush, and then Interstate Batteries, All Battery Center in Concord, North Carolina, and Sandusky, Ohio. So thanks to all those guys.
All right, well done, Kyle, on your second place run here tonight.
Thanks.
There we go. Kyle came with out second place. Justin, back over to you.
Thank you very much. Skylar Shackelford had the strongest car on that final restart. Launched his way on 2 tires from the edge of the top 10 all the way up to third at the time of the caution. Was working his way up with Daniel Eberhard as well before that big wreck down the backstretch. Skylar, how are you feeling after that crazy race tonight?
Oh man, I'm just relieved to have the car in one piece when I left.
Oh, really? Talk us through what you were seeing as the final restart essentially was unfolding, and you essentially, while you're trying to get a strong run down the backstretch, have cars flipping alongside and behind you.
Yeah, that was nuts. When we took the restart, I took 2 tires, and I thought I was screwed because I thought everybody behind me was just going to blow my doors off. But then luckily I got a good enough restart to the outside, and I knew once we got going that we were going to eat up the guys with no tires. And then we come to the backstretch in that one lap, and then I don't even know what we were. I couldn't see anything to my outside. I think maybe we were 4 or 5 wide or something like that. And then all of a sudden I seen my mirror, cars flipping into the fence, and I was just thankful that they didn't come down and hit me as they did it.
How difficult was it to pass, because you're one of the drivers that worked their way up through the field, went back through the field with strategy, came back up once again with strategy and some passing. How difficult was it to try and get around drivers throughout this day today?
Well, it's easier at the beginning of the run because everybody's got fresh tires and you can get big runs out of the turns, going into the turns. But after you get about 4 or 5 laps on the tires, everybody seems to get kind of strung out. It becomes a lot of single file racing, and the only way you can really pass is by kind of slide job, is to pull a slide job into the turn and hope that they don't run you over on the exit. And if you don't do that right, you get freight chained by everybody behind you.
Yeah, that was something we've seen, I think, a few times tonight. Now it's the question of, what do you expect to see when we head off to Texas on April Fool's Day?
I haven't ran any races there in the new package, but I've talked to some other guys, and they said that it's kind of going to... I was talking in the interview room while I was waiting, actually. We talked about how it's a lot like an Indy car almost. You kind of just want to take the air away from the guy behind you, and that there's really only 1 or 2 main grooves usually everywhere. But if you could take the air away, you can give yourself a big advantage over the guy behind you.
We'll see if that's how that breaks out on April Fool's Day after the week-long break for next week. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go here tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank my teammates for working with me the last few weeks. I'd like to thank one of my friends, Zach Carr, for making my paint schemes for this year. He did a good job on those. And I'd just like to thank everybody else that was at least racing around me for keeping their head on straight.
Congratulations on the top 3, and congratulations for surviving the Auto Club 80.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. That was Skylar Shackelford coming away in P number 3 tonight in his number 12 Wrangler Chevrolet. But Brett, your final thoughts after that very wild race?
Crazy start, crazy finish, crazy it was just a crazy race. And, we've seen some phenomenal racing, not only for the drivers up front, but also, the drivers in the mid-pack as well. But, man, that battle, when we had those green flag laps, those battles for the race lead, whether it was 2, 3, 4, even 5 cars that were able to really maneuver all over this racetrack, it just goes to show you at the moment with what they've got so far, from our vantage point, of course, halted with cautions here, but the racing was fantastic. I can't wait to see more of it going forward.
Can't wait to see either again. Congratulations to Jason Jacoby for breaking through for his first win of the season in the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series powered by Sim Racers for Mental Health. Before we go, I'd like to thank our sponsors once again tonight. Again, Sim Racers for Mental Health as the presenting sponsor for the series, along with Ford Entertainment Group, along with the rest of the great sponsors and people that get this broadcast to air and a part of our coverage for the 2019 season. Again, we take a week off break, but on April Fool's Day, right here on the iRacing Esports Network, be sure to tune in as it's the April Fool's race at Texas Motor Speedway, 125 laps in the Lone Star State. Which driver will conquer the mile-and-a-half circuit in this draft package? You'll have to find out here on LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Want to keep up with the action on the iRacing Esports Network? Be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell, because there's a lot of action here on this network. Action gets back underway on iRacing Esports Network tomorrow for the BSR MX-5 Pro Series at Spa. Coverage starts at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. But it's time to say goodbye here from Fontana, California. For Brett Wheeler, I'm Justin Prince, saying so long, enjoy the rest of your night. And you've been watching tonight's coverage from LSR TV, the home for live sim racing.